Welcome, I'm Elise,
And I'm Jess, and this is Spiritual Alchemy,
the podcast where we explore the intersection of science and spirituality
and how it shapes our everyday lives.
Hi, Jess.
Hey, Elise.
How we doing?
We're doing good. It's a beautiful day, and it's a great day to be here talking with you.
And talk about Karmic Connections.
Yeah,
Truly one of my favorite topics, if I'm being honest.
yeah. I'm really looking forward to diving into this topic because I think it is something that no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, this is something that you've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And if you haven't, we invite you to buckle in and open your mind to reframing truly anybody that you have ever come in contact with, good or bad,
yeah,
which is scary because I know sometimes people are like out of sight, out of mind. But this is really something that if you have the capacity to zoom out, which we've talked about.
look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, so have you ever met someone in your life that you felt like an instant connection? You're like, this person is meant to be in my life. And you can't, it's something that you're like, I can't explain it. I can't, there's no like rhyme or reason. It's just like, oh, you're meant to be here with me.
Well, I mean, I shared this with you a few weeks ago, but just so everybody knows, I meet a lot of people in my line of work, and I moved to LA knowing one person. And I've been fortunate to meet a lot of people. I remember meeting you. I did tell her this a few weeks ago. I have a very vivid memory. I think 4 years ago is now when it was. And my roommate, who is another karmic connection and why I'm here, the only person I knew when I moved here, she brought me to the gym. She's like, I'm going to show you where I coach, where I teach. And I met a lot of people that day. I only remember you.
So flattered. I have no memory of this, which I also shared with you.
That's okay.
And I think I have like a brief memory. Like when you bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah. I had a lot going on. What was really funny to me, and kind of tying this into like what a karmic connection is, it's a lot about timing because you and I were brought together for a very specific reason.
We're here.
We're here doing it. But during that time, I was in a completely different headspace. I was doing a lot of deep healing work. I was like really going through it. I was really finding like a really good practice, which now, like us coming together now, we've shared, and like that's been a beautiful journey. But it's like, it's funny how it was like a little like bump almost, like a little bumper car just going boop.
And I do remember that. I remember meeting you and having this instant, I just liked your energy. I don't know what it was. And I knew that my roommate had been hanging out with you at football games on Sundays and whatnot. And then she mentioned to me that you were having get-togethers for the girlies. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I think you guys have a lot in common. And it was like, ding. In my head, I was like, I knew it. I knew there was something there where we would connect. But just so everybody knows, this didn't happen for like a year at least, I think.
A year and a half.
Because I had followed you on social media. So, you know, when you follow people on social media, you feel like you know them. And you are still in my phone as Jessie Trainer, just so you know.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to change it.
Oh, I love that. I feel like I loved meeting you when we met. Like for me, getting to meet you at a point in life where I was like in a better place. And granted, I've had ups and downs between then and now, and you've been there with me through that journey. But I'm like, you have become someone, and I was just talking about this, where like you are someone who's in my daily orbit, and I am a quality over quantity friend person.
Yeah. And you grow, you learn, you alchemize, and you surround yourself by people that will give you space to grow.
Yeah.
so that you don't stay stagnant, and will also hold space for you to go through all your other karmic connections that you're going to meet, because like I said, not all of them are good, and they're not supposed to be good.
No.
It's supposed to teach you your lessons.
I think, yes, there's different types of karmic connections, and yes, there's the negative and the positive, because I've had those negative karmic connections where I'm like, oh, you're, when we go back to my mirror analogy, right? Everybody's there to show you something. And sometimes those relationships are like, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing, but we're going to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite example of a karmic connection that is a positive karmic connection, when I was surrounded by these negative karmic connections, was my friend Sarah, who, her and I grew up down the street from each other. We did not meet until her senior year and my junior year of high school. And it was like we met and then we kind of didn't vibe. And it was like, I'm like, we're enemies to lovers. Like, that's our trope. But it was like, kind of didn't vibe. And then one day we found ourselves like at this pool party, and we both like were laying in the hammock together, and we just kind of started talking, and I was like, oh no, you're like my person. Like, I love the fuck out of you. And from that day, inseparable. And she was someone who, in a world where I was giving a lot of unconditional love to people who were meeting me with love that had conditions. We only love you if you're perfect. We only love you if you behave. We only love you if you fall in line, or if you fall into a certain category.
Mm-hmm.
She was someone who met me back with unconditional love. And in a time where I was also, and I've talked about this before, I went through a really dark, dark time, when I would say between the ages of 18 and 20. And it was a point where I pushed a lot of people away. I did a lot of really shitty things that I'm not proud of. And I was going through a dark night of the soul.
And how interesting that you met her almost
Previous.
at the precipice
Yeah.
of that dark night of the soul, where you met someone who had to show you, hey, unconditional love is out there, and it can be there for you through the dark times.
And what I am always so grateful to her for is that no matter how dark I got, or no matter how dark the place that I was in was, she would always come and find me and bring the light and pull me back up. And I can never thank her enough for that. But what's a testament to our friendship is that I did keep showing up for her, and in the same way that she showed up for me. And now we've been friends for, my God, like 15, no.
Oh yeah.
Like 15 years of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And we live on opposite sides of the globe. She lives in Ireland. I live here in LA. Like, and we are still very good friends. Like, she is someone that I can just pick up with right where we left off. And there's always still this space of this unconditional, no matter where we are, we just meet each other where we are. And that is a connection that I will always cherish.
Mm-hmm. So we've shared our personal, but I had a fun time sitting and racking my brain over historical karmic connections. So one story that I've always been obsessed with is Cleopatra and Mark Antony. And for those that don't know the story, he was a powerful Roman general. She was the last reigning pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra's reign was when they started to combine like Greek and Egyptian blood. So I mean, it was already, there was the beginning of the end already when she came to rule. But their relationship symbolized the combination of two great civilizations coming together, Egypt and Rome.
Yeah.
But man, when you look at their story, they were so bad for each other, because he was a Roman general. He was not meant to stay in one place.
No.
Meanwhile, she's ruling over a country.
I was like, she's fucking badass. Like, yeah.
And And remember, prior to Mark Antony, she had already had a relationship with Julius Caesar. So homegirl was dipping in two puddles of the same pond.
She said, I like my men Roman and I like them in positions of power.
So to like, just for people listening, Cleopatra lived from 69 BC to 30 BC. So we're talking over 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
But she is the last active ruling pharaoh. Things really, really fell apart. And whether you want to blame that on her, I guess, zeal for love and just wanting that connection. I mean, she grew up in a very volatile world. I don't know if you know this fun fact about Cleopatra. She had to like beat out her brother to become pharaoh.
Yeah.
And I got two brothers and I love them to the death, but like I couldn't imagine literally stabbing them in the back because I knew that me ruling would be better. That's essentially what she did. And then she found these high up general men and then also took her country down with her.
Yeah.
So talk about a karmic connection.
Yeah.
So a karmic connection definition. Give it to me straight.
In simple terms, a karmic connection refers to a relationship that is often intense, volatile. It's believed to be the consequences of past actions or unfinished business from previous lives, offering opportunities for learning and growth. So it's rooted in Eastern philosophies of karma, and actions and behaviors and consequences impact future lives in that philosophy. So these relationships feel magnetic, like instant connection. They can be intense with a sense of familiarity or destiny, like fated meetings. And while they're intense and challenging, they're not always meant to be long term. And there are opportunities within them for growth and development. But not everything is meant to be forever.
Right. Karmic connection is just a poetic way of saying a psychologically intense, unresolved, emotionally charged relationship. So it can push you to heal something, could be rooted in a past life, or not past life, truly whatever you want to believe. Or, and I wrote this down, is it connecting you with the fractured souls of those that you have once known in another lifetime? That's how I think of it personally.
I think that kind of goes into the unresolved or unfinished business of it all. Like,
I will share my mother, and I can share this because I have shared this with her. And you know, it's a very typical 2025 mother-daughter connection. Where we have our ups, we have our downs. And at one point, I think we were arguing, but I don't like to argue with my mom anymore. And I said to her, I go, aren't you tired? She goes, what are you talking about? And I go, I just feel like in my soul, we have been doing this song and dance for thousands of years.
Yeah.
My soul has known my mom's soul over so many lifetimes. And we haven't always been mother-daughter. I think in a past life, I was her mom. Yeah. I think we've been sisters. I think we've been brothers. Like we've been maybe family members, cousins in a different capacity. But we were arguing one day and I had to bring some humor into it. I'm like, aren't you tired?
Yeah.
Like, can we stop arguing about this? We have done this for thousands of years. I'm done.
Yeah.
And it was a hard conversation to have, but she was actually really receptive to it. And I think by bringing some levity to those hard conversations and acknowledging that there is something beyond us, perhaps in a past life, it can really help you zoom out and be like, what's the core? What's the core of this issue?
And it can be the specific person, but it can also be the specific lesson. And the person that shows up to teach you that lesson is just another soul who maybe had to learn the same lesson again or this time around
or in a different dynamic, because that's what her and I often talk about. That, you know, this isn't just a friend relationship. This is my mom.
Yeah.
You have one mother and she's my mom. And I'm like, damn, we really got to stop arguing about this because we got a long life together. And if we don't figure this out now, I have a feeling we will come back and do it again. And my soul's tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are different types of karmic connections, some terms that are mainstream,
Yeah.
I'll call them. What are these types of karmic connections? And can we break them down?
So you've got your soulmates. That's a pretty common one. I think everybody understands the concept of a soulmate. It's the deep spiritual connection believed to be a continuation of a relationship from a past life.
And it doesn't have to be a lover. I always
Yeah.
remind people, I feel like in mainstream culture and spirituality, people get caught up in soulmates. It's your soulmate.
Yeah.
Your best friend can be your soulmate.
Yeah.
Your cousin can
Yeah.
be your soulmate.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's so many different types.
I heard this thing about soulmates and I think it's really sweet. This is all philosophical, so there's no way for us to truly prove this. But I liked this uh, concept that you show up in this life with the image of your soulmate, so that when you see your soulmate, when you meet, and there's that click of recognition, it's because you're seeing yourself in them. So you recognize them because it's you from a past life.
I had a moment like this. I have so many strange karmic connections, but I'm doing a show in New York in July with a friend of mine that I met in 2017 at a summer program in Germany, of all places.
Amazing.
And we always talk about it. We hit it off just like that. We just looked at each other like, I get you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much time goes by. Call her. I get you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a soulmate.
Yeah.
She's my soulmate.
There's also arguments that you could have multiple soulmates in life, because there's also this theory that as your soul goes through all of these rebirths or reincarnations, that little pieces of your soul fray off, and that's kind of the same with your soulmate as well. So you can find your soulmate in a lot of people. It ties back to collective consciousness, where we're all together as one. And maybe you find other pieces of your soulmate soul in a lot of people, or they show up in different ways to teach you things.
I love it.
Yeah. But similar but different, we have twin flames.
Also misunderstood.
Very misunderstood. This is a relationship between two souls who are essentially the same but separated into two different bodies, often characterized by intense attraction and a sense of destiny. So commonly misunderstood as a soulmate, because we did just have this, what if your soul is splitting off into little pieces?
I can give another example. He's going to hate whatever. He can deal with it. My brother.
Yeah.
My brother is my twin flame. Everything I am not, he is. And everything he is not, I am.
Yeah.
Sorry. Look at me. This is literally what twin flames do to people. It's like we are 3,000 miles apart, yet I can oh my God.
Are you okay?
It's hard. I mean, it's crazy to talk about because I just realized this a couple years ago. Like he's probably going to text me or something now too. Like we are always on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
It's so hard to explain to people, but and I think one of the hardest things that I still struggle with is that you're not always meant to do life with your twin flame. And for people that do get into romantic relationships, it's very difficult to understand that. And that's why if you've ever had a breakup that feels like your soul is splitting apart, that's what it is. You are walking away from your twin flame, which is everything you aren't or everything you are. It is.
Yeah.
It is a two sides of a coin, and only one side can be facing up. Like, ooh, sorry, that's harsh.
It's funny. I don't think there's not a person that I would say is is my twin flame. I think I've met more soulmates in life, or like actually what the next one is companion soulmates. I think I've met a lot of companion soulmates.
Or you haven't met your twin flame yet.
I don't think I really need to. I think I'm good. Like, I'll hold off on that one.
Or maybe
That's,
you've already met a twin flame in a past life, and so you've learned that lesson.
yeah,
You don't need to go through that in this one.
maybe I don't. Or maybe I'm just not remembering well. That could be as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say that like companion soulmates, karmic connections that focus on shared experiences and companionship rather than romantic love, are often the purpose of supporting each other's growth and learning. I would say that, like, again, my friend Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
I would say us,
Mm-hmm.
like, we're very focused on growth and learning in a positive, healthy way. I think that a lot of my romantic relationships have been a push, more like a shove to learn and
Get in
like
there.
really like push me to grow and push me to like break these limiting beliefs that I've had.
It can be stifling and or liberating to categorize the people that you've met in this life into these categories. And if it feels like too much, don't do it.
Yeah.
Or open yourself up to it. Like I said, I've my brother and I are 2 years apart, and I just realized a couple years ago that he was my twin flame. Like, you don't know when these things will reveal themselves to you,
Yeah.
but keep an open mind. But like I said, if it's too stifling, guess what? You don't have to figure it
Mm-hmm.
out.
I think it's also interesting where I'm like, I think of the soul family
Mm-hmm.
a lot more than I think about the soulmate.
Soulmate, twin
Right?
flame,
Soulmate,
false.
twin flame. Like, I think I don't put people in those categories. I put more in the sense of like, that's my soul group. That's my soul family. We're here as a team to help each other grow. And that's kind of the way I like to think about it because I'm like who's to say? Like soulmates, yeah. But to me, something a soulmate is so much deeper.
Right.
Like I've had those really intense, really quick connections with people, and I'm here to learn a lot in my romantic relationships. So this has shown itself a lot in romantic relationships where they've been intense, quick, right off the bat. And the lesson I've had to learn is like, ooh, slow down.
Well,
Ooh, cool yourself.
it's a good segue into how can science
Mm.
explain karmic connections?
So I kind of said this before, like it's a philosophical concept. So no, because what we've talked about before is science needs a hypothesis, a testable hypothesis. They need evidence, tangible evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really have that with this, but psychologists will explain it. And their explanation is like the phenomenon of a karmic relationship. And they use it to describe toxic behavior in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So, attachment theory, unresolved emotional baggage from a past relationship, projection, repeating patterns of like highs and lows in relationships, of like high highs and low lows.
And just knowing about the pattern of the human existence and what psychologically is happening in all of us. I mean, we've got the happy hormones, we've got the sad hormones, and if your idea of love is maybe physical touch, but you have not realized that you also need words of affirmation, you're going to continue seeking that physical touch and not putting words of affirmation at the forefront of what
Yeah.
you need, because your body and your brain has learned, ooh, all the oxytocin and the dopamine and the norepinephrine comes from the physical touch, without realizing, hey, you could also get that from your words of affirmation.
Well, did you ever read the book Attached?
No.
Okay. So, I I went through a really rough breakup, and the first book that was recommended to me to read, I'm a big reader. So, the first book that was recommended to me to read after this breakup was attached. And it's all about attachment theory. It goes through what your attachment style is. But there's avoidant, there's anxious avoidant, there's anxious attachment, and then there's secure. So the goal is to get yourself healed enough that you are at a secure attachment. Avoidant attachment style is very like hot and cold. Those are the breadcrumbers. Those are the ones who are love bombers. They're the ones that are like, let me get you addicted. They're the love drug dealers. They're the ones that are like, hey, try a sample of this. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. And I'll give you a little bit more. And I'll give you a little bit more. And they pick the anxious attachment because the anxious is the one that's like, oh yeah, that's good. Let me take that. Oh yeah, that's good. Let me have a little bit more. Let me have a little bit more. And then the avoidant goes, I'm going to keep this one to myself.
No more drugs for you.
No more drugs for you. And then the anxious is like, well, when am I going to get my next fix? When am I getting that next dose? Give it to me. And then they start freaking out and the avoidant pulls back a little bit more. But once the anxious starts to be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna give this space. Then the avoidant comes back and is like, hey, are you sure you don't want a little taste? That's attachment theory in a nutshell. Very, very paraphrased, but that's attachment theory.
No, I love the analogy of the drug dealer because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you broke down you're anxious, avoidant, secure. Right? Let's just leave it at, and there's combos, of course.
Yeah.
We are all trying to get to secure attachment.
Yeah.
And perhaps we all have a little bit of avoidant and anxious in us. It's learning through these karmic connections. What can you learn? What can you change in your patterns so you can get to secure, so that you can get to like who you are by yourself, so that you only attract and surround yourself with these secure relationships.
Well, the other thing that it breaks down too that I really appreciate is that you aren't just born anxious, avoidant, or secure. You, again, I keep going back to, you learn these patterns in your childhood. This is the relationships that you're around teach you how to be in relationships.
It's your nature versus your nurture.
Nature versus your nurture, but it's also how your parents treated you, very specifically attached to the parents or your parental figures.
It's your first relationship in your life.
It's your first relationship in your life. And how parents showed up for you is how you show up in all your relationships, friends, and
say that again, Jess.
How your parents showed up for you is how you show up in all your relationships, friends, romantic, or otherwise.
It's going to be very uncomfortable for some people to listen to.
Listen, I'm just a messenger, just an amoeba.
Are these karmic connections meant to help us, or what? How does this tie back to our soul contracts? What are they? What are these karmic connections meant to do for us in our soul contracts?
It's all about growth, increasing self-awareness, recognizing patterns, repeated patterns, providing a space for healing, forgiveness for both yourself and your partner or your connection, learning to set boundaries, and acting as a catalyst for personal growth and transformation.
And one little personal anecdote again. My almost fiance, I would not be sitting here today without the worst heartbreak of my life ever happening. Just crazy. Every time I recount the series of events in my head, it was the worst moment of my life.
Yeah.
Everything I knew was just thrown in my face. And in that time, I was so lost. I was so sad. I was angry. But I kept going because in my soul, I was like, I'm destined for something beyond this. And I kept going. And even on those days where I was like, I can't do it. I'm like, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
And that was a karmic connection I had to learn. I had to learn boundaries. I had to learn my self-worth. I had to learn how to be alone. I had to learn how to be alone with my sadness.
Yeah.
Because this ex had helped me a lot through a lot of sadness, but he was there the whole time. I wasn't alone.
No.
And after this breakup, I had to do all of it alone. You know what? I wouldn't change it for the world.
We have gone through I don't talk about this a lot, but we went through a very similar traumatic type of breakup. I went through mine. I was I was younger, and I remember very specifically during that breakup, it was like I keep learning this lesson of the unconditional love versus conditional love. And what I found in this partnership was that I was loving unconditionally to the point where I was like
Overextending yourself.
overextending myself. I was exhausted. I was sleeping all the time because I was like, I have no energy to give this person. And they were just sucking the life out of me. But I will never forget that during that breakup, I hit a point where I was like, you know what? I choose myself. And little backstory on it is that there were conversations kind of being had of like, oh, I don't know about this. I'm not sure about this relationship. And we had been talking about forever. And it was shocking to me to be like, what do you mean you're not sure? You've been saying that you've been sure this whole time. Now you're like, I don't know. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be with somebody who has to question if they want to be with me.
Mm.
I want to be an absolute, not a potential. And
You want something secure.
I want something secure. And I think I don't know my exact words, it was so long ago, but I was like, if you're not going to choose me, then I choose me. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. That breakup was intense. And what I ended up getting to say to him later, after, years of no contact and then running into each other, and he was like, you hate me.
Mhm.
And I was like, I literally don't have brain cells to hate you. Like I don't hate people. Like I have no energy for that. That's not my thing. Like I don't need you in my life,
But I don't
but
hate
I don't
you.
hate you.
Right.
And what I said was, if I could go back and do everything again, I wouldn't change a thing because it pushed me into an era of healing and growth that I would not had done had we stayed together. I
Same.
would have stayed stagnant. I would have been a shell of myself.
Same. That's why I'm like, you hurt me in ways that I don't know if I can ever be hurt again. But it launched me 3,000 miles across the continent to the opposite coast. And it would have never happened without it.
Yeah.
It's just, you take the time, sit in your grief, which not many people want to hear. You will be constantly astounded and in awe of the gifts that the universe is giving you, even if it doesn't look or feel like it in the moment. It's what meditation really does teach you. You got to sit with it.
Pain is transformative. Growing pains. And what I love to say to my fitness classes when I'm coaching, if it's not challenging you, it's not changing you. You have to get a little bit uncomfortable and push through that discomfort if you want to get stronger. And I would say we're both pretty strong.
So strong.
So strong.
Journal prompts for the week.
Hit me with them.
Have you ever met someone and instantly felt a sense of familiarity as if you'd already known them before? I dare you to get a piece of paper and write those names down and write down that experience. See if you can find 2 or 3 and see if you can find any connection between them. Think of a person who entered your life during a pivotal moment, and what role did they play in your growth of that time period? Was there someone in your life who showed you unconditional love when you weren't receiving it elsewhere? And how did that change your understanding of love?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to write through these. I'm myself, I'm only halfway through them because they're very difficult questions to answer, but I implore everybody to.
I love it.
Until next time.
Have a great day.
for joining us today. We're so glad you were here. For more information on our episodes and to connect with us on social media, follow us at Spiritual Alchemy Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Stay golden!